reason they're angry. That's the focus of tonight's angle. The hard left shows its rage in Minneapolis by throwing ice balls, harassing ICE agents, and screaming obscenities. And they impede the arrest of child predators.
We're here to arrest a child sex offender. And you guys are out here honking.
Oh, they're not. No, we're pressed. No, we're not.
That vehicle right there is honking and impeding our investigations while we're trying to arrest a child sex offender. That's who you guys are protecting. Insane.
And as you just heard from Todd Lyons, the director of ICE, they lie about what immigration enforcement is doing, and then the press, without any question, just laps it up, repeats the narrative. Poisonous. Democrats, the media, insurgents, they're not really mad, though, about deportations. If they were, then they would have been infuriated and doing protests when Obama was deporting millions. No, they're mad because ICE is doing its job and that Trump is doing what he promised he would do, what he ran on. And they're mad because their sanctuary city horrors are now being exposed. And being able to get every illegal vote, their real goal, that fantasy is beginning to slip away as well. So they're consumed by anger. Well, and over in Europe, no, they're angry too, because Trump is doing what he promised on the world stage. He's standing up for America first. And so when Trump said that Greenland is critical for U.S. security, oh, among the Europeans, this was Armageddon.
Dear President Trump, listen very carefully. Greenland has been part of the Danish kingdom for 800 years. It's an integrated part of our country. It is not for sale. Let me put it in words you might understand. Mr. Trump, off.
Well, naturally, then Trump comes to Davos, he flexes, he threatens tariffs, and then he arrives and he says, all right, we're going to talk now. We'll work something out. And today in Brussels, NATO countries kept their emergency meeting on the fate of Greenland. They all tried to save face. Trump made his point.
As I said, we are ready to discuss a lot of things, and we are ready to negotiate a better partnership and so on. But sovereignty is a red line.
No, sovereignty's off the table. We'll see. If you're an American president and you want something from Europe, it doesn't matter what you want, how reasonable your ask is. Remember, they're probably not going to give it to you for free. The EU itself wasn't created to make life easier for American presidents. It was designed to give the Europeans more leverage. And look, they use it. Remember, Obama wanted a trade deal with Europe, but he couldn't get it. Biden, he wanted a trade deal on steel with Europe, and he couldn't get that. Trump did what neither of them could do. He got his trade deal. Ditto with additional defense spending by NATO. Obama and Biden, they wanted more chipping in by Europe, defend themselves. Well, we know how that went. But it's not because Obama and Biden didn't ask them. It's not because the Europeans didn't like Obama and Biden. It's because Biden and Obama were afraid or unwilling to use leverage to get their way. But not Trump. And presto, NATO will start ponying up more for its own defense. It's about time. Then when Trump started his Greenland negotiations, well, of course, the media, all they see is, oh, this is chaos. This is instability. The end of the rules-based international order. Don't you love that? But Trump, in this position, he sees an opportunity because he also knows only two things worry Europeans. First, fighting Vladimir Putin and losing its huge trade surplus with the United States. That's number two. In the first 3 months of 2025, when Trump was just starting, their trade surplus in goods with the U.S. was over $96 billion. But in the last 3 months, for which all the data we have, August to October, that figure had fallen below $32 billion. What does that mean? Trump squeezed them. That is good news for American businesses. And Europe had to just suck it up because, of course, they're not going to get any better deal than that with China. They already have a huge trade deficit with China. So again, Trump has more leverage than the EU, and he has an ironclad case that we need more control over Greenland to keep ourselves safe. So the longer this debate goes on, the worse it will be for the EU. What they see as obstacles, Trump sees as possibilities.
President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, is someone who is not limited by what others say is possible or what others say is impossible. He's not limited by some of the things that have happened in the past, and he's willing to talk to or engage with anyone in the interest of peace, always putting the American people and our national security first, but understanding that in the world that we share with so many others, peace is paramount to all of us.
Yeah, the limits of the old world, the old establishment, Trump blew right through those because they were rigged against the United States, and we were saps all along. So think about it. If Secretary Rubio briefs members of Congress about why we need more rights in Greenland, there's no doubt about it. Those members are going to side with Trump, and then the EU's leverage will really be gone, and for all I know, tariffs may be back on the table. So I have a prediction tonight. The EU is going to back down after all their huffing and puffing, and they will give Donald Trump more rights in Greenland. It's a huge win for us. Meanwhile, all the Democrats back home have anger. And their great 2028 hope who traveled to Davos to represent them, he just returns home humiliated.
The Treasury Secretary described you as Patrick Bateman meets Sparkle Beach Ken. The White House Communications Director.
That was the U.S. Secretary of Treasury.
I have a couple more, and then you can respond. The White House Communications Director called you Gavin Newsom. Do you think? Should you? I mean, is that kind of discourse from you, from them, good for America?
No, it's deeply unbecoming.
Talk about a glass jaw. No, seriously though. Wait, what's the top? It might be not fair. Scott Besson's visual about Gavin Newsom, was it really accurate? Let's look at the side by sides. Well. Pretty accurate. Pretty spot on. You need Bateman in there. Oh, okay. Well, I noticed that vintage 95 Sparkle Beach Ken was sold out on eBay as of this morning. Just saying. He knows how to drive merch. But what do you do when you have no accomplishments? You bring props.
You're running around distributing knee pads to CEOs, and I think it does.
I'm not handing them out.
And it does.
I do have a few, if you'd like. I don't know.
And honestly, it sounds.
By the way, I'm not kidding. They're the new Trump signature series knee pads. Yeah, and they are available online. I told you the last one sold out. And I just want to sort of. It's a serious moment. It actually. But we laugh. Anyway, these are available and in bulk too.
What a clown. More like Son of Dracula. Any attention he gets is derivative of others' actual success. No wonder job creators are fleeing his state. Again, their fury is not because Trump is failing. It's because Trump has been generally very successful in his first year back in office. They thought they could stop him. They misread the playbook. In the end, this team is stronger, smarter, and savvier in the game of leverage and negotiations. Certainly than anyone on Biden's team, certainly than anyone on Obama's team. And it's always about America first for Trump, even if your feelings get hurt along the way. And that's why they're angry.
Let's check in on Davos.
My prediction is that there'll be more robots than people. Everyone on Earth is going to have one and going to want one. Because who wouldn't want a robot to, assuming it's very safe, watch over your kids, take care of your pet. If you have elderly parents, we are in the most interesting time in history.
A robot who takes care of us? Didn't we already try that with Biden? The auto pen just cut checks, pardoned crooks, and almost bankrupted us. I want a boss with flesh and bones, who I don't need to program and charge his battery. Like the man who never sleeps. Trump is landing back in America tonight after a pretty busy 48 hours in Davos. When he was in Switzerland, not sure if you heard, he demoted the UN and created the Board of Peace and packed it with his golfing buddies.
I think, let me see. Yeah, every one of them is a friend of mine. A couple I like, a couple I don't like. No, I like, actually, this group, I like every single one of them. Can you believe it? Usually I have about 2 or 3 that I can't stand.
And in a shocking development, Trump named himself the chairman of the board and called it an honor and hired the UN as his secretary.
Once this board is completely formed, we can do pretty much whatever we want to do, and we'll do it in conjunction with the United Nations. You know, I've always said the United Nations has got tremendous potential, has not used it. On the 8 wars that I ended, I never spoke to the United Nations about any of them.
This is what happens when you sabotage Trump's escalator and Jimmy with his teleprompter. The Trump Board of Peace already doing more than the UN. We're building golf clubs in Gaza. The only thing they'll be fighting over now is tea times.
This is a great location. It all begins. See, I'm a real estate person at heart, and it's all about location. And I said, look at this location on the sea. Look at this beautiful piece of property, what it could be for so many people. It'll be so great. People that are living so poorly are going to be living so well.
Look into the future. The Board of Peace is envisioning what looks like Dubai on the Mediterranean. Kind of looks like a Muslim Miami Beach. But just because it's the Board of Peace doesn't mean we're not going to get a piece of the action.
What about the formation of the Peace Summit? And I was like, is that P-I-E-C? You know, a little piece of Greenland, a little piece of Venezuela.
Elon's got Gutfeld writing his jokes. Poor guy. But he's right. It's not just a little piece of Greenland. Trump says we're getting full access.
I'm not going to have to pay anything. We're going to have total access to Greenland. We're going to have all military access that we want. We're going to be able to put what we need on Greenland because we want it. We're talking about national security and international security. So we're going to not have to pay anything other than the fact that we are building the Golden Dome, and the Golden Dome is going to be something that's going to be very amazing.
The deal right now, and it's still being hashed out, will give the United States pockets of sovereignty. Basically, huge chunks of territory run like American embassies all over the island. Right now, we just have one military base there. We'll be adding dozens more. We're also getting major mineral rights. We'll get rights of first refusal, and we'll get veto power over Russian and Chinese mining operations. The deal also includes missile rights for the Golden Dome and an enhanced NATO presence. And Greenland not saying no.
We are willing to discuss and do more. We have a responsibility. So let's talk about it through the right channels in a respectful manner. Then I'm sure we can work something out that benefits all of us.
If Greenland keeps behaving, we might let them have a hockey team. And maybe we'll film some movies up there, open up a Walmart. See that, Europe? That's good parenting. You behave, you get a treat. NATO isn't even getting in the way. The chief says it's basically a done deal.
All of this is not about Greenland or the Arctic. First of all, this is about how can we protect ourselves against our adversaries. Our main adversary is Russia for NATO. And of course, we see China massively building up. So let's not be naive about China. But Russia is our main adversary.
The Europeans threw a tantrum, and finally, Daddy came home. But the Germans are jealous. But let's be honest, the Germans have daddy issues.
Protect Denmark, Greenland, the North from the threat posed by Russia.
Well, the last time Germany tried to protect somebody, Austria got invaded. The Germans need to settle down. Germany's like an abusive father. They ignore you until they want something, and then they hit you and tell you it's only because I love you. President Trump says if anything happened to Greenland, we'd be there for NATO. But when something happened to us on 9/11, was NATO there for us?
We've never needed them. We have never really asked anything of them. You know, they'll say they sent some troops to Afghanistan or this or that. And they did. They stayed a little back, a little off the front lines.
We thank NATO for helping us in the war on terror. We thank them a lot. The president's point was we can't rely on a small country like Denmark to protect a huge island in our own hemisphere. Even Zelensky gets it. He's calling the Europeans weak wafflers with their hands out.
Europe needs to know how to defend itself. Europe looks lost trying to convince the US president to change. but he will not change. President Trump loves who he is, and he says he loves Europe, but he will not listen to this kind of Europe.
Wow, look at Zelensky, all grown up. He put on a suit, got a job, stopped asking for money. And at first, Zelensky cried and stomped his feet, remember? But then he realized Dad was right. That's why Z's calling Trump strong and Europe weak. Sure, Europe was throwing money at them, but does money solve everybody's problems? Sometimes it spoils them. A good parent teaches their kids respect and gives them deadlines. A bad parent just gives them cash and never checks in. Like the auto pen. Biden threw cash around all over the world, tried to bribe his problems away, and the world walked all over him. Biden and Barack Obama got along so well with Europe because they both believed the West was in decline, and they never did anything about it. They just managed their own decline. Now, this may be acceptable in Europe, but when Donald Trump was elected president of the United States, everything changes. We're in a moment of radical change. These moments come maybe like once a century. AI, the Arctic, trade, China, it's all happening. And America's taking the lead. Iranian nukes, Maduro, Gaza. Now the Cuban communist regime might be about to collapse. NATO's back together. The TikTok deal just went through. The Taiwan trade deal just got papered. And the board of peace, licking its chops, wondering how to price seaside condos on the Mediterranean. Everything is falling into place. But Gavin Newsom's in Davos holding up props like Carrot Top, making gay oral sex jokes. Listen.
You're running around distributing knee pads to CEOs, and I think it does.
Handing them out.
And it
does.
I
do have a few, if you'd like. I don't know.
And honestly, it sounds.
By the way, I'm not kidding. They're the new Trump signature series knee pads. Yeah, and they are available online. I told you the last one sold out. And I just want to sort of. It's a serious moment. It actually. But we laugh. Anyway, these are available and in bulk too.
Gavin stalked Air Force One to Switzerland and waved around knee pads. It's kind of weird. Gavin officiates gay weddings in San Francisco and hawks knee pads for $100 a pop. What, does Gavin think this is a WNBA game, throwing around sex toys? Where does he get all of these knee pads anyway? It's none of my business. Then he started whining that Trump wouldn't let him in the club.
I was going to speak last night. It was a well-established event at the USA House. Simple conversation, discussion. After Trump's speech, they made sure that I didn't. They made sure it was canceled. And that's what's happening in the United States of America. Freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of speech. It's America in reverse.
If the bouncer doesn't let you in the door, don't moan. Just do what Melania says and be better. Who follows a sitting president overseas and then starts throwing around sex equipment? Now, I wouldn't let you in the club either. When Gavin got a chance to speak, he just sounded like Jessica Tarlov, who I love.
I want you to know Donald Trump is an historic president. That's absolutely correct. He's historically unpopular in the United States of America. In every category, he's underwater. He will be remembered in years, not decades.
Gavin's a lame duck governor running for president, and he's acting like one of these Minneapolis mommies with a whistle, chasing down men and getting in their way and screaming. Trump's cabinet's getting kind of creeped out. They're calling him a psycho San Francisco Ken doll. Listen.
The Treasury Secretary described you as Patrick Bateman meets Sparkle Beach Ken. The White House Communications Director.
That was the U.S. Secretary of Treasury.
I have a couple more, and then you can respond. The White House Communications Director called you Gavin Newsom and a...
Newsom?
Is that kind of discourse from you, from them, good for America?
No, it's deeply unbecoming. Come on, of course it is. It's not what we should be doing. The Treasury Secretary talked about a Barbie doll. It was as if he was reading a diary and had just broken up with someone.
Why is Newsom getting emotional? The only one more emotional than Newsom's Canada.
Canada doesn't live because of the United States. Canada thrives because we are Canadian.
No one cares about Canada. We love them, but we don't think of them. ever. No one else does either. We trade. Sometimes they're in the Stanley Cup. That's it. All of a sudden, after no one's heard from Canada since the 18th century, Gavin slapped on his knee pads and started looking up north.
Destruction is not strength. The Trump administration is weakness masquerading as strength. And people need to understand that. I respect what Carney did because he had courage of convictions. He stood up. And I think we need to stand up in America and call this out with clarity. We can lose our republic as we know it. Our country can become unrecognizable in a matter of months, just not years. It is code red.
Does Kneepad Newsom even know what he's doing over there? He's colluding with foreign countries to undermine the sitting president of the United States, the president who achieved peace in the Middle East and got our hands on Greenland. And Newsom's trying to form an anti-American alliance to take him out. Could you imagine if Trump, when he was running for president, followed Barack Obama to Davos and told Europe to stop slobbering all over him? Politics stops at the water's edge, they say. Whatever happened to the rules and norms that Democrats always say they want to uphold? Gavin only gets attention when he drafts off other people. No one listens to his podcasts unless he has Charlie Kirk on or Shapiro or Bannon. He picks a fight with Florida just so he can debate with DeSantis on Fox. He drafts off Air Force One and makes a scene in the Swiss Alps like he's some sex toy salesman. Gavin could have gone over there like a gentleman and showed off his foreign policy chops. What's the Gavin Newsom doctrine? I'm interested. What does Governor Newsom see happening in the next 10 years? We looked through his little speech. He never once mentioned Arctic security, Greenland, minerals, Russia, Ukraine, or even NATO. He gave a campaign speech to people who can't vote. And he tried to get kicked out to get a headline. Gavin can't make it on his own. He's an empty suit. And the only time he makes news is when he picks a fight with someone successful or his state catches on fire. This pick-me governor is a thirsty clout chaser slinging sex gear for ink. Stephen A., he gave him the spanking he was dying for.
To go over there and to be in the presence of other European leaders speaking against the president of the United States, I'm not down with that. Y'all might be, I'm not down with that. When we go somewhere else, it's America first. You know, our problems, yeah, our problems. But we ain't taking dirty laundry outside. You don't go on a world stage to disrespect your own house, which is the United States of America. I don't like that at all. Not even a little bit.
The Obama crew gave him another spanking. David Axelrod said this, boy, I tell you what, Newsom's a whip-smart, charismatic Pole. His critiques of Trump are right. But this why can't people just be as courageous as me routine is tedious. Haven't we seen enough self-puffery in our leaders? Kneepad Newsom's got to grow up. But there's no father figure in the Democratic Party to discipline him and show him the ropes. Joe Biden's asleep at the beach. Obama's in Honolulu getting neutered by Michelle on Call Her Daddy. Bill Clinton, he's been held in contempt for hiding over Epstein. Who else is left? Al Gore? Gore is 77, and we're hearing reports that he was booing Trump's cabinet in Davos.
Let's turn to California, or rather Europe. Apparently, Gavin Newsom has completely abandoned his elected role as governor and he's decided to become a world traveler and, of course, obsessive, compulsive Trump stalker, full-time podcaster, full-time Tweety bird. But today at Davos, Newsom was humiliated once again for his very bizarre behavior. We report, you decide, take a look.
I want to read you a couple of things the U.S. government has said about you in the last 24 hours or so.
How about the U.S. government?
The Treasury Secretary,
when you put it in
the Treasury Secretary described you as Patrick Bateman meets Sparkle Beach Ken. The White House Communications Director.
That was the U.S. Secretary of treasury.
I have a couple more, and then you can respond. The White House Communications Director called you Gavin Newsom, and an official White House account, a federal government account, described you with I'd say, very online sexual slur that people here probably don't want to hear at 8:30 in the morning. And you're, in some sense, responding in kind, and waving the knee pads around.
Fire with fire.
Do you think? Should you? I mean, is that kind of discourse from you, from them, good for America?
No, it's deeply unbecoming. Come on, of course it is. It's not what we should be doing. But you've got to point out the absurdity.
Talk about the absurdity. By the way, the resemblance to Sparkle Ken, kind of remarkable. And watching Gavin spiral into bizarre irrelevancy is a sight to see, even touting knee pads during interviews. Not making that up either. Now, there is a major issue standing in his way. He was a terrible governor in every way. There's the knee pads. How great. In every way. And still is, virtually bankrupting his state with multi-billion-dollar boondoggles, billions and billions in handouts to illegal immigrants in his sanctuary state of California, leading, of course, mathematically to massive budget deficits. He's got the highest income taxes, sales taxes, gas taxes in the entire country. The worst homeless problem in the entire country. Something he's on tape promising he would fix in 2014. Didn't work. The largest mass migration out of his state in history. And he's in Davos stalking Trump full time, waving around knee pads. I'd be embarrassed for the guy, but he doesn't seem to be embarrassed himself. It is simply pathetic, but it's also kind of funny. And to be honest, only moments ago, President Trump, he truthed out in part, quote, Gavin Newsom as a lame duck governor of a failing state should not be at Davos running around screaming for attention of foreign leaders and embarrassing our country. He made a mockery of himself and everybody, including his own staff, and he knows it. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
So Trump went to Davos and dropped a steaming hot pile of America First all over its face. Now, Davos is where rich dirtbags fly private jets to talk climate change as an excuse to bang beautiful hookers. It's absurd. Why not fly commercial and spend more money on hookers? But right out of the gate, Trump made it clear he didn't come to Davos to be part of Davos. He went so Davos could be part of him. He spanked them so hard, I thought the head of NATO was going to call Child Protective Services on him. Yeah. But what? What a difference. Most American presidents show up at that thing like exchange students, desperate to fit in. And Trump blows in like an orange tornado at a trailer park.
To address so many respected business leaders, so many friends, few enemies, and all of the distinguished guests. It's a who's who, I will say that.
Yep, Trump looks at the room and everybody there instantly understands they're about to get something new, the simple, unvarnished truth. I wonder if under Biden, were we plucked like a chicken?
Our country is being plucked like you pluck a chicken. Our country was being plucked, and it wasn't good. And, you can only take so much of it. And we've changed it around very quickly.
Yeah, Trump was there as America personified. He skipped the small talk, went right to reality, pivoting to Greenland, the Arctic, Russia, China, shipping lane, security, because that's how adults talk. And while they were nervously laughing, he walked out with a swag bag that included a chunk of land bigger than California. So while everyone else was there to preserve the status quo, Trump was there to torch it. But then came this stellar moment. Trump insults their religion, windmills, making this moment the most delicious thing to come out of Europe since Sophia Loren.
Windmills all over Europe. There are windmills all over the place, and they are losers. One thing I've noticed is that the more windmills a country has, the more money that country loses and the worse that country is doing. China makes almost all of the windmills. And yet I haven't been able to find any wind farms in China. Did you ever think of that? It's a good way of looking at it. They're smart. China's very smart. They make them, they sell them for a fortune. They sell them to the stupid people that buy them. But they don't use them themselves.
Yep. Trump mocked the entire green energy priesthood by pointing out that China makes the windmills, sells them for a fortune, and somehow doesn't seem to clutter its own landscape with them. And the crowd laughs awkwardly because they know it's true and don't have the balls to say it. No wonder when Trump walks into a room, everybody's sphincters clench. Because this pit bull gives no. And those poodles in the room realize this guy isn't the idiot the American left says he is. Even more, he doesn't care if you don't like him. He only cares that you respect his one and only client, America. Trump doesn't charm you with consensus. He corners you with reality and then asks whether you'd like the pain now or later. Because he knows Europe is a continent that's been propped up by American generosity, and it's finally being asked to pitch in. Our military spending let them have a welfare state for 80 years, and all we got in return was soccer, Benny Hill, and chicks with armpit hair. That's the real reason Trump succeeds. He told them this is about America first and our ability to save their asses. As Trump said at Davos, you'd all be speaking German if it weren't for us, which really pissed off the French once they had it translated into Arabic. But this is why, perhaps, that Europe often badmouths us. Nothing bothers the Euro elite like the fact that they owe us. That stupid conference exists to make powerful people in parkas feel superior to the country that makes them look small. And Trump walked in and reminded them that they're not superior or not even our equal. He didn't go there to apologize or to blend in or to be lectured. He went there to say 2 words, "You're welcome," and then added 3 more, "Now pay up." Let's welcome tonight's guest. He only became a cop to perform the cavity searches. Fox News contributor Paul Morrow. Just like the Buffalo Bills, she'll be watching the Super Bowl from home. Republican strategist Aaron McGuire.
Go Bills. Love you, Buffalo.
Her cheerleading inspired the Raiders to leave Oakland. Co-host of Outnumbered Emily Capano. And he's the reason for drawbridges, former NWA World Champion, host of Planet Tyrus podcast, Tyrus. Paul, do you get the sense wherever Trump goes, the place is never the same? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like they think they're the thing, and then the thing comes and they get really small.
You have to imagine today, all over European capitals, they're saying, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
What was that? They love windmills. The biggest windmill on earth just blew through, right?
Yes.
You could power all of Europe off of one of those speeches. Take a step back. What really happened here, looking at it from a macro level, is that diplomacy is always the art of farting around, right? You don't really say what you're going to say, what you're going to mean, and all of that. And he came in and didn't do any of that. Mm-hmm. And he essentially said to them, look, this is the equation. We have been propping you guys up security-wise since post-World War II. We created security junkies, an entire continent. So what did they do with the fact that they had all this flexibility in their budgets? Here's an idea. Why don't we create a welfare state, cradle to grave, throw open our borders, and let any migrant who wants to come in, come in. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
We're paying for migrants in Europe, not even just here, because it's the pass-through.
Right.
And then they tell us, hands off of Greenland. How dare you? Did anybody on that continent give a crap about Greenland a week ago?
No.
Was any of them complaining about the fact that it was Denmark? Is anybody marching against Denmark for having... I don't think people in Greenland even know Denmark claims that they own the place.
Yeah.
It's only because it was us that they just can't countenance that. And that's why, like I said, usually it's just a pantomime. He just goes in and says, look, cut through all of that crap.
Yeah.
We need it. You need us to have it. And in their heart of hearts, they know that, and so they're grateful. The only thing I'll say, just to close, you got to pare away Eastern Europe, because that's a tougher crew. Rumsfeld had that right.
Yeah.
We think of Europe, we think of Western Europe, and realistically, Epcot punches at a higher weight right now.
Yeah. That's a good point. It was like, Aaron, it was like, Trump is like the embodiment. It's like America walked into that room and slapped them across the face with Florida.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Sure, Florida was a choice, yeah. I mean, he did. He walked in and just owned the place.
Yeah.
And it was American dominance. It was Donald Trump walking in and saying, I'm not here about me, I'm here about my country, and I'm unapologetic that you guys have been freeloading, that you guys are making terrible decisions, that you're indoctrinating your own people, that we need to stop spending money on stupid things, and that, you know what, America's going to lead the world again. And you know what? You all better get in line because we're not going to back down from this fight. I absolutely loved it. The guy's making jokes, having a great time. I love when he throws an enemies line out there. I remember his tweet from Thanksgiving a few years ago that was like, Happy Thanksgiving to everybody except my enemies. Like, he loves this kind of stuff. And he was absolutely great in Davos. I'm all for it. USA first.
There you go. Emily, what do you say? What's your thoughts on this, young lady?
That I love the obliteration and sort of the audacity that President Trump brings to every table, to every scenario, to every room. And I was trying to think about how, for a party, the Democrats and the libs, who call themselves progressives, why is it then, when someone has entered the scene and has challenged everything in the true name of progression, who refuses to simply swallow what they've inherited? Well, that's how it's always done. Well, we've always carried Europe's security since 1945. Well, we've always done it this way. Here is someone that is actually doing the thing that the libs have been talking about for so long, which is elevating the voices that were ignored, which is telling every single person you matter, which is saying to Greenland, hey guys, if you keep this up, you will be stomped over by China or Russia or both. It's now or never. I just hope we, again, return the meteorite and get rid of the black mold.
Stop with the meteorite! If you mention the meteorite one more time, Emily, no one cares about the meteorite. No one.
Meteorite.
Not even the meteorite cares.
Meteorite! I'll say it forever.
You're right, Tyrus. She's nuts. Isn't it nice to have a president who doesn't give a shit about
it's just nice to see a man back in the boss is back.
Yeah.
That's what this was. They had 4 years where they could do whatever they want and run the little mealy-mouthed liberal programs in Europe. America sucked. America was the problem. White man was the problem. And then the biggest white man in the history of white man showed up to say, hey, the babysitter's gone. Daddy's back. First thing we're going to do is you guys. And here's the thing. He tells it like it is, not like they want it to be. So before, when they had the little things, everybody kissed everybody's ass and thanks for being here in this historic meeting and blah, 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 blah. He walked in like, we ain't friends. Okay? That you pulled the last 4 years, that's over. Okay? And here's the thing. There's nothing you can do about it. Because when they made the little threats, really, who in the hell is afraid of a threat from France? If you don't do what we wanted you to do, we're gonna tell them, England. You know?
Nice. All right.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.